Well, welcome back to the Communication Mastery Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 6. And if you're a regular with Season 2, you'll know that we alternate in this season between a podcast with just some regular input and then a time when we have a special guest. And today we have a special guest with us. So welcome to the podcast, Mr. Tom Winslow.
So you have a guest. I don't know about special. But my question is, how did I not get on Season 1? Am I not that special?
No, you're not that special.
That's what my wife says. Actually. My wife says that too, actually. That's what my wife says. That's true. All right, that's fair, Mark. I got you.
I knew it was going to be an entertaining episode to have you on, Tom, and I'm really glad you're with us. But for the sake of the guests, why don't we have your version of who Tom Winslow is rather than my version of who Tom Winslow is, because that's going to be far more entertaining, I'm sure. Tell us a bit about you, what you do, a little bit of background on you, Tom.
Sure. I'm a male who is old and fat, according to my daughter, but has been born to serve others, however God wants me to serve them. And at this time right now, it's as a father, a husband, and as an attorney. Cool. And so my job is to give to others, hopefully, what they feel like they need, not just what I want to give them. And that's me, right? That's what it is. Like, I'm not anything special. I'm just another person.
We should have had you on Season 1. That whole thing of giving people what they need was one of the biggest themes we had of adapting our communication so we can make connections.
Well, and the truth is, Mark, and Mark knows my favorite word. My favorite word is perspective. And the reason perspective is because so many of us feel like who we are is what other people need, right? I feel like you need what I want you to have versus understanding and truly understanding what someone else is in themselves and who they are themselves. As a husband, as a father, as a child, as an employer, employee, as an attorney, and approaching a solution through the eyes of the beholder of the problem instead of the eyes of the beholder of the person that thinks they have the solution. Mm-hmm. And too many people nowadays think they're so special that they are the solution. Mm-hmm. When in retrospect, if you look back many times, if we just took the time to understand the situation, the solution was evident and in our face. There's a theory, and you guys probably know this, it's called Occam's razor. And I love Occam's razor because Occam's razor is the simplistic nature of human life. That whenever there's too complex or multiple complex situations, normally the simplest solution is the best solution, right? And so trying to overcomplicate a situation, just analyze it from the multiple perspectives to find the solution best for the person holding the problem, not from you yourself, who thinks you know everything.
So is that the kind of process you use as you're trying to figure out what this person in front of me needs? Or are there other factors you build in as well as you communicate in that way?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's all communication. And you as a communication guy knows the key to communication is actually not talking. Key to communication is listening. When all you do is talk, you're solving your own mindset instead of listening to the actual situation. So many times when I get into a scenario where I'm working with a client or my wife, a friend, my child, the first thing I need to do is say, what's your goal, right? Or tell me about your situation. And I might have read about it. I might have heard about it 3 or 4 times from other people, but not from you, right? So I might know everything I think I know about it, but if I go in with the presumption that I know about it without listening to you first, then that's my own perception of the scenario, not your perception of the scenario, right? Mm-hmm. And so the key for me to finding those solutions is actually the listening component of communication. Right. And through that listening component, when you're actually listening, you're active listening, and you shut your mouth, then you can actually learn their perception, right? What perspective are they coming from, right? Where are they coming from in their perspective of, hey, this isn't door A is not actually the problem. What you think is the problem is not the problem. It's actually door B. And if you walk in there thinking it's door A and trying to solve door A from your perspective, then you're completely missing what the client, the spouse, the child views as the actual scenario and the problem. And you're solving something that doesn't need to be solved.
Right.
And that's when a lot of times I get yelled at by my wife who says, I don't want your solution. I just want you to listen. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to solve door A and not door B. She just wants to listen. And then door B shows up. So I always say, what's your goal? What is it? What's the problem? What's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? Yeah. And then the second question is, what's my role? Mm-hmm. Right? Just because you have a goal and you want to accomplish something actually doesn't mean I'm any more than a consultant or am I an attorney? right? Or am I just a friend? Am I a shoulder to cry on? Like, what's my role in your goal, right? Just because you have a goal that you want to achieve doesn't mean I have any role in it.
Right.
I might not have any role in it at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know that if I don't shut my mouth and have active listening before I start trying to participate with the solution.
That's cool. And so if we zeroed it in on the legal profession for a moment, presumably in that role, people do expect you to have answers, do expect you to have solutions, do expect you to come up with something. They're not just looking for a shoulder to cry on, they're looking for somebody to help them through a situation. So what kinds of communication do you find you're stepping into in a deeper way in your role as an attorney?
I'll say sometimes you have three scenarios in a legal situation, right? And I think it's true in almost any kind of situation you would have, whether it's engineering or medical, any kind of professional situation. You have the role of before it happens, right? I'm just consulting with you. I'm thinking about starting up a business. I just want to talk about the business. And sometimes that's just brainstorming and masterminding, and they're just wanting to talk through a scenario. And as they talk, they hear themselves, and they start putting the pieces together themselves, right? And so sometimes just by listening, you're solving the scenario without having to even say a word. And sometimes they talk themselves out of it, right? Right. And sometimes they talk themselves into it deeper. Sometimes their wives or husbands look at them and go, right? But, so you're sitting there before the scenario happens, and you're able to help them generate a mindset.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the consultation, right? So whenever, as an attorney, so many attorneys forget that's attorney and counselor at law, right? And that's that counselor part. You're just letting them talk, and you're listening, you're trying to help them develop the ideas or understand that it's not an idea. Right. Right. You got the action and you got the inaction, right? The action and the omission. Sometimes they're just as equally important. They feed off each other. You got I'm in the middle of a mess, right? Like, so someone, a lot of times this happens in family law, right? You're married and you're causing a problem and you're in the middle of a mess. You're not quite there at the end of the mess, right? But you're you're past the part of should I or should I not do this, because now you're doing it and you shouldn't be doing it. And so then you're trying to find a way, and truthfully, this is the part of an attorney, trying to find a way out of the scenario without the legal action occurring. Yeah. Okay. So you're no longer trying to avoid it, right? That's the first part. Now you're in it. So how do I get out of it without there being a legal action that happens? Because sometimes you're in a mess, and if it gets discovered or it turns out bad, and you don't rectify it, it can blow everything up. It can ruin a business. It can ruin a marriage. It can ruin a relationship. All kinds of stuff. So now you're a little bit covertly solving problems discreetly, right? Confidently.
Yep.
Without hopefully any kind of reprise occurring from your actions, right? Because you're right in the middle of it. And that's kind of that conflict resolution status, right? Where you're trying to solve this thing real quiet.
Trying to do it undercover.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably the hardest scenario, right? Because it's not out in the public, right? That's the last scenario, right? Where it's out in the public, and the first scenario where you're not actually in it. Now you're trying to stop a volcano from blowing up that's bubbling.
Yep.
So how do you plug a volcano, right? How do you put the earth back together after the earthquake's already started? And that's a lot of times the toughest part, and it's the worst scenario, but that's the one where attorneys get paid, right? That's where you get paid, right? You're the one that you come in and you try to fix the situation from getting worse. And I always tell them, look, here's the situation. You did it. You're at fault. You're causing it. What are we going to do about it? Because we can't go back in time. So how do we stop it where it is? I said, one, you got to understand what you're doing. You're coming to see me because of your action. So are you going to stop doing your action? I mean, you can't keep doing what you're doing expecting things to change. Either you stop and things will change, or you won't stop, and no matter what I do, it's going to continue on, right? You can't kind of perpetuate in infinity and expect things to change if you're not willing to change, right? It's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a cut until you actually heal the cut.
Stop the bleeding first.
It's going to keep going, right? So that's the toughest part, and so that's kind of that scenario, and it's more to listen. That's the thing that takes action, right? You cannot be passive. You have to be active. You have to attack. And I said all the time, no problem gets better by ignoring it. No problem gets better by allowing it to perpetuate, or you keep doing what is problematic, right? So you've got to immediately take it. So one of those goals is when I have to step in. I say, I hear what you're saying. What are you going to do about it?
Right. What's
your plan? Before I tell you what to do, what's your plan?
Yeah.
You're here to tell me because you know there's a problem. So how are you fixing it? Because I can address the legal side of things, but I can't address the personal side of things. right?
Yeah.
And so that's that middle part right there. That's kind of just right there.
So it sounds like there's a bit of a tightrope to walk there for you in
Always.
communication to know when to be forceful and when to
You have
when
to
wait.
And you have to be honest, always honest. Right. And it's a delicate balance for me personally on an ethical, moral standpoint, right? Because so let's just go with a family situation, right? An adultery situation, right? Something, or someone stealing money, right? Keep in mind, my job is to take care of my client. Not my job to take care of his spouse. It's not my job to take care of the business. I'm taking care of this client right here. So I say to them, how do we resolve this? Different ways. You keep doing what you're doing. Is that what you want to do? Because you're here seeing me about it. So if you want to keep doing it, you wouldn't be here to see me about it. So what are you doing on your side to solve this problem? That's number one. Number two, do you want to stop doing it? If you do, stop. You just want to go and tell them, right? Because a lot of times, Christian principles would say, hey, go tell them what you did.
Right.
Go fess up, just put it on the table, put it out there. Right? But the truth is, in our society, a lot of times, if you go and tell your employer you stole $1,000, that's going to lead to criminal charges and loss of employment. You tell your spouse you've been cheating on them. What's that going to lead to, right? Or you go and you say, hey, I had one scenario where an individual was speaking online with a lady. He was married. The lady recorded the online conversations, which might or might not have included video and pictures. And she said, hey, if you don't pay me $5,000, I'm going to tell your wife. Right?
Yes.
So how do we handle that scenario?
Right.
And he's the leader of his business and all this kind of stuff. How do we handle that scenario? So, that's where I step in, right? I try to handle that discreetly to try to save a life. Because the truth is, when stuff like that happens, it's impacting more than just the people involved, right? A spouse is impacted, an employee, employer. If someone owns a business, then all the employees, all the clients of the business, the children, right? Yep. And so
always wider focus.
The sins of the father, right?
Right.
And so in my mind, it's the ethical, moral dilemma sometimes of it. So you do nothing about it. You go to the very end, the other side, right? And you do just lay it on the table, or you work in the middle, right? You work in that gray,
right?
Which is where I live. I live in the gray, trying to solve problems confidently, discreetly. That's where those full releases come in that have, non-disclosure clauses in them, right? And confidentiality clauses in them. Yes. And you just go solve that problem and you just move on. You file that away and hopefully no one is the wiser about it. Right.
So what have you had to adapt in your own makeup, your own wiring, to be able to be as good at that as you've become?
And I don't know if I'm good at it or not. I just know that I have to.
Well, you're still in business, so presumably some of it's working.
That's God's mercy. I don't know if it's a blessing, but it's mercy. All right. But the word perspective, right? The perspective is that, right, if you're an outsider looking in, right, from a religious perspective, potentially, right, looking at it, you're going, he just needs to fess up, he needs to go talk to his spouse, he needs to go talk to the business people. They just need to work their way through it. I've seen from experience how that does and does not work. And understanding that from let's go with the perpetrator perspective. The perpetrator perspective is tell nobody, get away with it, right? And if they catch you, don't say a word, right? So you got the different perspectives, right? And so what I'm trying to understand is this, and this is where I, as an attorney, have to view it. All people are good. We are all born in God's image, and we're all good people. Some people through experience, right? When you're 3 or 4 years old and you're abused, and I'm not saying this to everybody, right? You're abused, you're sexually molested, you're beaten, you have an alcoholic father, you have issues like this. You grew up in that perspective as a child, and that's what your experience in education is until you reform who you are as an adult, if you had the opportunity. Some people don't even have that opportunity. Like they're just born into it and they stay in that culture, right? And so if you start with the basic premise that people are bad, you'll believe everybody's bad, and you won't trust anybody. And you'll make them earn your trust. I'm not going to do business with you, marry you, I'm not going to like you until you make me trust you. Or you start with the perspective that people are good, and that all people are faulty. And if people are faulty, that means they're going to do bad things. But it's not who they are at their core.
Right.
And at their core, they're good people. And so if I treat them like they're good people, if I treat them as if I trust them until I can't trust them, then we'll have a better relationship than if I treat them like they're bad people and I can't trust them. And so I choose to treat everyone like they're good people. And that if I help them to a scenario, that they will not go back into that same scenario. Right. But if they do go back to that same scenario, right, and when I'm listening to you, like when I talk to people and they tell me, well, this just happened, and then 3 months later it happens again, and then 3 months later it happens again, then it didn't just happen the first time either.
Yeah.
Right? But that's because you've proven now that I can't trust what you're telling me. Right? I didn't start with that idea.
So you're starting with the effort to understand what somebody's really like under the surface, or what they should be like if it wasn't for all the other circumstances layered on top.
And I'm going to treat everyone
looking for the good in that.
I'm going to treat everyone like I want a relationship with them.
Yeah, cool.
I want a long-term relationship with you. And you don't do that with people you don't trust.
True.
Right? But when I can't trust you, then I'm done with my relationship with you. Right? Yeah. Right. And so for me, clients, coworkers, friends, spouse, right, children, right, all of it. I'm going to give you every opportunity I can for you to succeed.
That's cool.
Until I can't.
Yeah, beautiful.
Right, and that's where the premise comes in.
It strikes me there's a lot of similarities between being an attorney and being a communication coach, but there's a lot more at stake for the attorney than the coach.
Well, and that's right. No one walks in my office because they're having a good day.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
No one walks in saying, "I want you to give me a smile." You know what I'm saying? Right. Like,
right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, like they're walking in like a lot of times life and death or life in prison. Right. Someone may have just died in their family. You know, businesses. Who knows?
All kinds of things.
Right. And so if I focus on the problem, then that's where all the conversations will go. And problems are always negative.
Yeah.
Right. If I focus on the solution, that's where the focus will go. And solutions are always positive. So I always tell my team, our job, it sounds crazy, our job is to not provide money or justice or any of these blah, blah, blah stuff you see people jumping on TV about in TV commercials. Our job is to provide benefit. And sometimes that benefit is simply being there. Sometimes it's answering a phone call. Sometimes it's just listening to them have a consultation. Sometimes it's representing them in court, right? But you got to find out the client's benefit, right? That goes back to the original conversation we had. Right. How do we give them, what's our role? Yeah. Our role is to give them a benefit. They get to define what that benefit is.
That's cool. I like that. Now, you've mentioned your team several times. I know you've got a large and diverse team. Talk to me a little bit about how you have to adapt your working relationships with the members of your team. You know, how did you select that team? When you've got team members who are wired differently, what requirements does that place on you as the leader of the whole firm to adapt to your different team members? Unpack a little bit of that team leading role for me.
So for me, I am not the leader of the firm. For me, running a business, every member of the business is a important part of it. And so let me kind of give you my dynamic, what I think a firm is, and then I'll talk about the team itself. A lot of people, especially attorneys, think they're really important, and they put themselves at the top of the pyramid, right? You kind of see the graphs and stuff like that, right? Here's the CEO on the top of the pyramid. The attorney's at the top. You know, you're coming to see me because I'm important. You're coming to see me because you need me, right? So here's the attorney, and here's the paralegals, and here's the support staff, and here's the office administration, right? And you're always up there. And for me, that's not how it works, right? A lot of people say you got to turn that upside down, right? You got to put the person at the bottom, and then you work your way up. The person at the bottom is there. I don't think that's true either. I think it's a circle. I think it's a circle where everyone's equal, right? And so as a leader, I'm here to serve all the people around me, but that arrow keeps going around where they serve me, and we keep serving each other.
That's good,
right? For the benefit of each other. Okay, and we serve each other for the benefit of each other, so that way we can serve our function, right? What's our role is to benefit our clients. So we serve each other to benefit ourselves, because if someone's going to I have one of my attorneys who's pregnant. It's my job to serve her and her clients and her paralegal while she's out. Right. I owe that to her. Now, if I need to go on vacation, I expect her to serve me. Right. And that doesn't happen from a top-down perspective. That happens from a circular perspective, where we're there to serve each other.
Cool.
Right. And so within that circle is our community and our clients who make it all possible. Right. And so if we forget those components, then what's our purpose? How are we serving others? Right. Through that benefit perspective. And so if I look at it from that perspective, your question of how do I choose my team? Like what's the components of my team? And to me, that's attitude. It's attitude over aptitude. Right. People say, that's not my job. Well, you're not in the circle then, are you? Right. I'm not going to do that. It's 4:58. It's not 5 o'clock yet. It doesn't matter. It's 4:58. Oh, it's 4:59 now. right? No, you're here to serve others. If you're here to serve others, why do you care what time it is?
Right.
What's in your heart? Is your heart one that says, I'm here actually to serve others, or I'm here to serve myself? Because if you leave at 5 o'clock when there's still stuff to be done, guess who you're serving? Oh, but the law says that I don't have to work more than 40 hours. Well, what about your client who hired you? What if you were the client and your lawyer or your paralegal left at 5 o'clock when something needed to be done until 5:30? No, you wouldn't like that. So when you're getting served, you want to be served until it's done. But when you have to do the serving, you're done when you say you're done. Where's your heart?
Yeah.
Right. So it's attitude over aptitude. I can teach you. You can learn any language you want if you're willing to put the time into it. I can teach you the law. That's a language. Right. I can show you the graphs and the PowerPoints and how to make all that stuff together. But I can't show you how to be a good person, and I can't teach you how to have a good attitude.
Right.
Either you have it or you don't. And I'll give you as much patience as I can, but I can't give you patience to the point where you're harming your teammates and your community and your clients. When our role is to benefit, that right? That's our role, is to benefit, not to make $10 billion, not to jump over a car and yell out 6666666, right? Our role is to benefit those around us.
You've been watching those ads on the TV, haven't you?
A lot of them appear to be more the devil to me, but that's just whatever that might be, right? But but the concept is where's your heart?
Yeah.
Right. To me, the legal profession is a service industry. It's not being a professional. If I were to go to a doctor's office, do I want to sit in the waiting room for an hour waiting after my appointment's been heard? No. Right. I want to try to do the best I can to be there. Be there. Give them the attention. Like, I don't take my phone into my meeting. I don't want the phone ringing in the meeting.
Yep.
When you're talking with somebody, there's nothing more important than that somebody that you're talking to.
That's good.
When you're serving at court, is there anything more important than that moment in court? Why do you act like you're more important than the moment? Do you not realize that there's been people before you and after you and during you? You are nobody. You are nobody other than a servant of the people around you. Yeah. And I tell my children, because everybody goes through it. I go through it too. Like, sometimes I want to have a moment about me, right? Like I sometimes want to be able to take a 10-minute nap or a 4-hour sleep. Okay, right. But this is what I tell my children when they're talking. If they want to share or something like that, right? If I were to give it all to myself, right? I'm taking everything I got. I'm giving it to myself. I'm gonna make $1 million. It's about me. I got this. I give myself 100%, and I give nobody anything else. I got 100%. I got my 100%. But if I give everybody around me 100%, if I gave everything I had to everybody else, and I could trust them because they're good people to give me back 100% when I needed it, how much do I get back versus the 100% I keep for myself?
Right.
Much more, right?
Totally.
And so I'm going to continue to give 100% to everybody I can. And sometimes that means I don't sleep. Sometimes that means I don't get to eat what I want to eat. I didn't eat lunch or breakfast today. I've been living on coffee and water.
Oh, gosh.
I started at 7:30 this morning, right? I don't know what I'm going to eat today because I go till 9 o'clock tonight.
Well,
I have no idea what I'm going to eat. I have no idea when I'm going to sleep. Last week, I was in trial all week. Got out of trial, give or take 5:36. I went to the office. I would see my wife and kids for 30 minutes because they would bring me some food. I'd be there until 2 a.m. Be back up at 6:37, right? 4.5 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep for 5 straight days. On that Friday, we got done with trial. I went up to Columbia because I had drill with guard. I did drill. I took some of my team members out to see a show. I came back on that Sunday after seeing my family because my parents live in Columbia. My dad has Parkinson's and stuff, so I went and saw them. Came back on that Sunday. I went right to the office to catch up from missing a week worth of work and from being up in Columbia on that Saturday until 9 o'clock at night. I went home. I worked on my time, which is something I have to do as an attorney, until 11:30. I went to sleep at 12. I woke up again this morning at 7 o'clock to start over again. Let's go. I'm ready. Right? But it's a mindset. I'm not tired.
Right.
Like, I feel great. Like, let's rock and roll. I might be tired. I might have to take a nap on like a Thursday evening, but you're not on a Monday evening. Right? And so,
Yes.
And so, let's go. Like, the mindset is, do I do it for myself? Do I do it for others? And if I do it for others, I'm energized by the ability to do it for others.
That's a very important point.
And if I don't do it for others, then I'm exhausted by others. So am I energized or am I exhausted? Yeah. But it's a mindset. It's a decision you make. That's it. It's just a decision you make. What decision are you making?
So, Tom, you've been talking about overcoming difficulties, about the mental attitude that carries you through. And you're well known in the community here on the Grand Strand.
For good or bad, either way, I'm well known.
I would say, from my observation, mostly for good. I wouldn't go as far as say all for good, just in case you got carried away.
Well, I will say, 50% of my job is to have people not like me. So.
Well, there is that, and I've heard you say that before, so I'm aware of it. But when you're overcoming difficulties, when you're meeting challenges head on, the way that you would do that may be different from the way the people around you would do it. Talk to me a little bit about how you navigate that. Maybe you've got a client who's wired to be more cautious, perhaps, and they're coming to you because they know you've got more sort of direct hit kind of approach. How do you navigate that in terms of your relationships with your clients or with your staff who are wired differently from you?
It took me a long time, honestly, to get to that point, and it caused me to not have a relationship with my wife for 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
When I was 14, I had so much fear of failure. I would not try out for things. I would not ask girls out on a date. If I could do it myself, if I could control the outcome myself, I would do it. If I couldn't control the outcome because it depended upon somebody else's decision-making, I wouldn't do it. And so that fear of failure didn't even allow me to ask my best friend, Lauren, my best friend in life, didn't even allow me to ask her out on a date, even though we would go out every week and study and do stuff together, until I was 24, 25, and a girl I was going to marry cheated on me. And I went to Europe for a week, maybe 2 weeks, I can't remember how long it was, and God just said, call Lauren. Right? I mean, I hadn't talked to her for 5 years. Came back and called her, and it worked out over a period of a year or so. It worked out. We got married, right? And so it made me have a retrospective on why did it take so long to get to this point? Mm-hmm. Right? Because she told me that she had always thought she was going to marry me, even though we never even dated, right? And what I realized was this, that my fear of failing prevented me from succeeding. Mm. Okay?
Yep.
And so by not doing it, it was the same answer as if I got told no. It still didn't happen, right? So what I learned was, why am I afraid of failing? Why? And that's the direct impact of inaction. Well, if I do that, this could happen. Yes, it could. Well, if I go and start a business, I could fail. Yes, you could. But those are all negative focuses.
Right.
And negative focuses always come true when you take inaction. Mm-hmm. Well, I have this problem. I'm not going to do anything about it. The problem's not going away. You still have the problem. Matter of fact, it's going to get worse, right? I got a speeding ticket, and I don't want to tell my husband about it. Well, when you don't pay the ticket and you lose your license and then you lose your car, I'm pretty sure your husband's going to learn about it, and then it's going to be a little bit worse and harder to get out of. So why don't we just take care of that, right? Well, let's just handle it. Let's just face it, right? And so I've gotten to the point now in my life where I'm living up to my college nickname of Tom Ass. And I don't give a rat.
Right.
Right. And so you don't have to like me. I'm just going to tell you what it is. And you can choose. You're paying me to give you an opinion. No one said you're paying me to give you an opinion you like.
Right.
And if you don't like it, then that's fine. You still have it. And if you choose not to follow it, that's fine. You still have it. Right. But I take that on in my own life too. Right. So many times in life, we get presented with opportunities, and we look at it from a negative perspective. I could go wrong with that. If I did that, this could happen. If I did that, this could happen. But if you did that, this could happen. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, that will never happen. You don't marry your spouse by not asking them to marry you.
Right.
You don't start a business
Very
by not
true.
starting a business.
Yep.
Right? So take the chance and don't be afraid of the failure. So I had to overcome that fear of failure, and I think I have to credit Lauren with that, right? Because by her saying yes and then saying, right, again, 10 years later, she could have told me 8 years earlier, but hey, whatever, I'm not going to blame her. You know, it's your fault. But I knew I was always going to marry you. I told my mom in high school I was going to marry you. Well, dadgummit, girl, that was 8 years ago.
You could have told me sooner.
Why didn't you tell me that? Right?
Right.
Like, I would have a whole lot more fun when we were together if I had known that. Well, whatever. Not hold anything against you. But you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's like, why do I fear? And that's what I love I love jumping out of airplanes. Like I love the skydiving, and I hate the parachute. I know it sounds correct. Maybe it sounds crazy. I love the fall, and the part of the fall is the fear of not knowing if that chute's going to open up. Right?
Well,
whoa, hello,
right.
Sadistic son of a gun.
Yeah.
I look, take the plunge. We're all going to die. We're all going to fail. The key is how you get up. And when you die, you still get up. Right?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of it.
Right.
Like if you know that no matter what punch you take, you're going to get back up, you're not afraid of failure. But if you know if you get punched, you can't get back up, it's going to stop you from taking any action. So just take the punch and get back up.
Wow.
Everybody's taken a punch. Not one person in this life has not had a punch somewhere in their life.
That's a great mindset to cultivate.
Right. And so the mindset is, how do I translate that to my team?
Right.
How do I translate that to my clients?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's one of those things where you have to get them to look from the other perspective, right? Because everyone comes in, they're naturally trained to be cautious and have stability. I want a paycheck, stability. I don't want to get into that situation. I'm cautious. So how do I train you to be a risk taker?
To jump out of an airplane.
Right?
Metaphorically.
But keep in mind, I don't jump out of an airplane without the parachute.
Right.
I evaluate the circumstances. I make sure that the things are put into place, right? I try to set up the scenario where I'm not going to fail. Right. But if I do, I'm okay with it because I've done everything I can to prevent it.
Yeah.
Right. And what that means is I can learn from it. Right. I don't care what attorney it is. If they tell you they haven't lost a trial, they're out of their mind, or they haven't tried a trial. They've lost something in their life. Yeah. No one ever goes through life winning everything. If you do, you're lying. I'm talking to you. Lying. But did you try to do something properly, and did you set up the scenario and give it 100%, right? 100% not to fail. Because if you gave 100% not to fail, then why do you care? Like, I gave 100%. I left it all on the field, and we lost the championship game. But I gave it 100%. There's nothing else I could have done. Losing was out of my control. So why am I worried about something that's out of my control? Why am I stressed about something that's out of my control? I can only control what, guess what? I can control. The rest of this stuff is God's, right? And I've said this a million times. When I was put here, it wasn't mine. When I leave here, it's not mine. Therefore, it's not mine. It's all under his control.
Right.
I'm just going to do my best with it that I can. So if I've done the best with it that I can, and he's decided a different outcome, then that's his will. Right. And again, now I'm starting to repeat my old answers, right? But everything good in my life has come from his will, not being my will. Right. My girlfriend cheated on me and left me that I had bought an engagement ring for, and I was able to turn that into a 10-year anniversary ring for my wife that I would not have had if not for that scenario. I didn't want to marry Lauren. God made me marry her. He took away what I wanted and gave me what I needed.
Wow.
When I started the firm, it was because I was fired because the guy I was working with didn't agree with some of my decisions and how I wanted things to be run and how they needed to be done. When my wife was 4 months pregnant, 2 days before Christmas, the 31st. So 9 days later, I started up the firm, and we're now blessed with the firm. Right. But not because I never wanted to run a business. No one in my family I know has ever had a business. Right. They've always had a paycheck. I was happy with a paycheck. That's what I grew up with. That was the environment I grew up in. Until I was forced, because I had a mortgage and a wife who was pregnant, to do something other than food stamps. Yep. And I chose the business, and God has blessed me with that. But it's not because it's what I wanted. It's because that's what God said I needed. And I've been blessed with that because I feel like I've been able to be a blessing upon others. And that might be a complete lie, and I'm lying to myself about that. But I don't know if I would be in business still if others didn't feel like I actually helped them in some way.
Right. Coming back to what you were saying about, we give it our best shot. We tackle the issue at hand rather than avoid it. Most of the time, you're certainly in the business, and I think I am to some degree as well, of being the sort of person who can come alongside someone who wants to do that and to help them have a greater chance at succeeding. And I've seen you come alongside not just your clients, but causes and all kinds of things in the local community. I mean, so talk to me about the Go Givers group that you started, because I think that's one area where I think many people know you through that group and your leadership of that group. Yeah.
So our team starts with a basic concept of being committed, right, to our community, clients, and coworkers. We call it the 5 C's, right? Committed, counsel for community, clients, and coworkers. And it's our core. Our 5 C's are our core. And so I want everyone every day to evaluate what they're doing for those, right? And so who's in your community is what's important, right? Your clients, we know who our clients are, right? We kind of know who our coworkers are. Who's in your community? For me and my community, it's everyone, right? So my family's my community. What am I doing for my family, right? Am I giving them the time they need? My friends, my literally my community around me, the people that need that assistance, right? And so I didn't start Go Givers. Go Givers was around maybe 2-3 years before I was. Okay. I was one of the first members of it, but it was dying on the vine. It tried to be a networking group. And my problem with networking groups is that they are inherently inconsistent and fraudulent. They say in a networking group, pay money so you can send cases to each other inside the group. Well, which is BS. Because if you don't like somebody inside the group, you're not going to send them a case or you're not going to send them some work. And if they do a bad job, even if you do like them, you shouldn't send it to them because you don't want to send someone a bad referral. So all you're doing inside a networking group is saying, I'm paying money so people will send me cases and send me stuff. And I'll send it to you if I like you and I think you do a good job. Right? So the inherent concept of networking group should be, I want to create relationships. Right? It shouldn't be send stuff to each other. It should be, I'm going to be here to cultivate relationships. And if you like me, great. And if you don't like me, great. I'm still going to shake your hand, right? That's right. So
is that why you shake my hand? No.
Yeah, that's kidding. I tried to avoid that too, but but then you have the other mindset, right? Of, well, if all you're doing is creating relationships, then how are you growing internally? How are you growing yourself, right? And that's where the mastermind concept comes in, right? Where you're feeding off each other and you're actually in it kind of was an intimate setting where you can somewhat be honest with each other and bounce ideas off each other, right? To me, again, the mastermind session is self-serving. How do you benefit me? Let me steal stuff from you. Let me do it. And I don't feel there's a whole lot of external growth. It's more of an introspection upon yourself and how to benefit yourself. So again, that's where the reading group comes in, right? Where you're bringing in outside materials and learning new principles, learning new ideas. Right. And so the Go Giver group is a combination of a whole bunch of things that I don't see in our area. Right? It's a networking group where you can build and cultivate relationships. To me, it's a mastermind group where you can actually bounce ideas off each other from other professionals, other business leaders who will actually care enough about you to share with you on a personal level. And it's a reading group where you can actually learn something externally that you might not know or nobody knows. And again, I say perspective is my favorite word because it is and we know this in the Go Giver group, when you read the same 5 pages of a chapter and you have 40 different reflections upon those 5 pages, you go, where did that come from? Or what's that story? And you go, I never would have thought about that because I didn't think about it until I heard what you had to say. Right?
Yes.
And so to me, that's the beauty of the group, that there's not another group that I know of in our area where you can gather such a culture of relationship, internal learning and external learning in a 1-hour segment. Right? And so to me, it's entertaining. I mean, it's entertaining. Like, I love seeing how people reflect upon something that's helped me grow personally and then helps me grow even further because I didn't even think about how they grew. So I just love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Tuesdays, 7:30 at Ground Zero.
There you go. Thanks for the advert. So one final question for you, and let's kind of bring it right home to the most foundational relationships. Talk to me a little bit about how you develop the uniqueness of your kids and draw out the best in Lauren. How does your family work with a man who's so committed to seeing everybody flourish as you clearly are?
So when you want to give 100% to everybody, you have to remember to also give 100% to your family. Right? Everybody wants to talk about balance, right? And balance, it's like a scale. If you're going to do here, you got to balance it out. And again, I don't believe that's true. All right, it's just my reflection upon life. Nowhere in life do I get to say, "Hey, babe, I'm going to go to the office from 8 to 5. Do not talk to me or see me ever." And then I go to home and I go, Hey, home, I'm here. I'm never going to look at anybody from work. Don't call me, see me ever. There's no balance. It's all intertwined. You have to be willing to accept the intertwining of it. So it means two things. One, when I'm at the office, I have to accept my employees having that intertwining as well. Right? If they have a kid's play, if they have a kid sick, I need to be accepting of the intertwining of life with work. My employees have to be accepting of that as well at home. Yeah. Right? When I have trial, when we have stuff going on, the law doesn't happen from 8 to 5. If something's happening at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I need you actually doing it. Right. And you might not like it, but when you have to go to your kid's play and I give you that time off, I need you to remember that. Mm-hmm. Right? So because we have to balance that out. So I have to do the same thing at home.
Right.
Right. So at the end of the work day, I have to remember I have a family that's committed to me. I need to be committed to them. Mm-hmm. Right. So I go home and I have dinner with them. Took my kids into bed, which is getting harder and harder now because as they get older, bedtime's getting later and later. It's like, go to bed at 7. No, go to bed. No. I'm like, dang, I'm getting in bed sometime. And then I have to say hello to Lauren, right? And I have to spend time with my wife, right? I have to spend time with my spouse. And sometimes it's literally talking about work or talking about our calendars, but we're sitting next to each other and there's a connection at least, right? And I have to look at her. I can't be looking at my phone and my computer, right? I have to give her the attention just like I do with my clients. I have to give her attention. A lot of times I leave my phone and my computer in the car. Yeah. Right? Because I know I'm going to come back to it later. Like I know I'm going to come back to it later. It's for this 2-3 hour interval that I get to see my family. And I can't be seeing my family behind a computer screen or a phone, right? And so I need to give her the same amount of time. She's like a very long consult. I have to do a lot of active listening, right? And keep my mouth shut. Yeah, right. And so it's same with my kid. Like my son who's 7 wants to play chess with me. Right. I love that. My daughter who's 10, they're both turning 8 and 11 pretty soon, who's 10 wants to play the violin piece or play the piano piece or we talk about school or what's going on in their life. I want to hear about how people treated them, how they treated people. Right. And so how do I nurture them was how this question is generated. I nurture them by simply accepting them for who they are. Right. Right. I don't care if they want to be attorneys or not. Mm-hmm. I don't care if they want to play piano or violin or chess or soccer or do what I did and whatnot. I want them to be who they are. And so I view my role almost like I view this country. My role is to provide them, right? I view the country as providing us the opportunity to succeed. Right. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, we have the opportunity to fail also, but the opportunity to succeed. And so I'm going to give them every opportunity I can. If they want to try violin, you got it. You want to try horseback riding, you got it. You want to try digging a hole in the backyard? You got it. I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, I want you to have the opportunity. And if you decide you don't like it, that's fine, but you're going to finish what you started. Right. You finish what you started, you don't have to do it again. Mm-hmm. But I want you to learn from that opportunity whether you like it or not. Because unless you're exposed to something, it's not fair if you say you don't like it. It's like I don't like sushi. Well, have you ever had it? No. Well, then how do you know you don't like it? Try it. Now, if you try it and you don't like it, don't try it again. I gotcha. But you got to give it a shot, right? So try it once. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But finish it at least. Finish what you started. And so all I want to do is give them the opportunity. I want to listen to them and be there for them. I'm going to punish them. They're going to know that if they do wrong, they're going to be punished, but I'm also going to love them. Yep. And I'm going to be for them after they're punished. Cool. Right? And so I try to do the same with my wife, right? Like I want to be there for her. In the day, like a spouse just needs someone to know that they're there. Like to me, the true function of a spouse is for you to understand that they're an adult and they need support. Like I'm an adult and sometimes I just need to cry on Lauren's shoulder. Like it's been a tough day. I just need someone to cry on, right? I don't need her to serve me. I don't need her to yell at me. I just need her to be there for me, right? And so I need to do the same thing for her, right? She's a grown woman who's decided to spend her life with me. It was voluntary action. It wasn't forced upon her. And so based on that voluntary action, I don't need to do anything more than just be there for her and be willing to do what she needs me to do. That's all I can do.
It's great.
Serve them.
From outside observation, I'd say you do it very well.
Do the best I can. I don't do anything well enough, but I give it 100%, right? I don't do anything to perfection, but it's just the pursuit of perfection. Yeah, which is a great attitude to have. And you've been a great gift to our listeners. So thank you very much for being with us, Tom. It's been a great pleasure. Well, I appreciate you having me and having to tolerate looking at me after drill. You look like you've been at drill. I know, right? Where's my hair? People take all my hair. Colton, give me my hair back. So
So that's it for this time, folks. And we're glad you've had an exciting episode with us. We've got more exciting guests in the pipeline, so stay tuned for that. And next time will be more practical details, maybe even drawing from what we've talked about today, but stuff you can apply at home, stuff you can apply at work. So come on back for the next episode of the Communication Mastery Podcast.